Welcome in, guys, to the I-80 Boys Sunday podcast here. I am your full-time geriatric clown here, Chris Vaca. Thanks, Christian, for that one. This guy, obviously, over here to my left. Do you have a name?
Yeah, it's the old part-time podcast host of the I-80 Boys here. One Christian Hunt. Chris, not that you know anything about what that means or anything of that nature here, but that's okay.
Yeah, we'll keep that on. We'll talk about that a little off air there. Anyway, looks like Mike dropped in the chat here real quick. Christian, as much as I think Rhule's the right guy, still makes me wonder if we shouldn't have went with Urban Meyer. No, I don't want Urban Meyer at all at my program. He can recruit. He can. He does win national titles, man, but he'll leave you hanging high and dry.
Chris brings up a solid question, I think, at least. If Urban Meyer was the coach at Nebraska, are they 2-0?
Yeah, because he would have brought in a quarterback, I think, Christian. I know that sounds crazy. What about you? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I would probably say they would be definitely 2-0 right now. Do they, but that's the other question. I mean, do they maybe lose 3 or 4 games this year? It's a lot more likely, but maybe not. I don't know. I mean, the Big Ten West, is up for grabs, right? You get a coach like Urban Meyer that has a history of obviously coming in and turning programs around and doing it at the major level and winning championships just about everywhere he goes, except for the NFL, but that's a whole other thing. But also leaving programs with a lot of controversy, right? A lot of controversy always follows Meyer too.
Yeah. That's the only reason why I wouldn't take him. I'd take him for the W's, though.
The thing about Matt Rule is, he's one of those guys where he's got a great history of turning teams around, especially in that second year, third year of a program. But then after he gets you turned around, he's going to, he's bolting onto that next scene here.
Unfortunately, I think you're correct on that. Yeah, his first seasons with teams though is historically pretty bad.
Is then Rule better hit the portal hard for a quarterback because Sims couldn't win against a group of Chris's. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean,
yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it's tough. Tough talking about Nebraska after what we saw yesterday, especially at the QB position.
It's one of those things where I guess just looking at it from the outside, looking in and whatnot, it almost makes you wonder what did they see in practice to name him. Again, I'm not really advocating for Heinrich Harburg or Chubba Purdy or anybody else, but what did they see in practice that made them say, this is the guy, this is the way, we gotta name him our starting quarterback the rest of the way, and we can't win with Casey Thompson. That's my question.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. I think the Casey Thompson thing is the more interesting thing, like what happened there or why. I don't know if we'll ever know that answer, but I liked Casey Thompson. I thought he was a good quarterback. I don't think he was great. He played great at times. He also, played bad at times too last year, but he also didn't have much of an offensive line. It looks like the offensive line is a little bit better this year. We didn't do much to help him out last year other than Trey Palmer. So it is a very interesting question, Christian. One that I don't know if we're going to get an answer to either with Jeff Sims going forward. By the way, he has 6 turnovers, Christian, 6 in 2 games. I mean, I don't even know where to go with that or really what to say. I mean, it's god awful, historic level awful.
Thompson, hold on one second. Here's my take. Thompson wasn't any better to me. Yes, he was good, but Palmer made him look great. Listen, don't get me wrong. Trey Palmer definitely is an electric athlete. I mean, he was the fastest guy on the field. He made a lot of great plays, and I do understand that. I think it's really tough to be much worse than 2023 Jeff Sims. Just from a turnover standpoint. I'm not saying Casey Thompson is some, Caleb Williams quarterback out here or insert whoever you want to put there, Quinn Ewers, whatever have you. But he damn sure ain't, he damn sure isn't, 8 turnovers bad in 2 games. He damn sure isn't, how many points did they put up? 24 points in 2 games bad? I mean, we're sitting here talking about, Iowa and Brian Ferentz talking about, can he score 24 points a game and keep his job? What about Nebraska? They put up 24 points in 2 games. I mean, I don't know, man. And I'm not trying to dig salt in the wound here. I just think it's, I honestly think Nebraska's in a situation where you're going to get some flashes out of a guy like Jeff Sims. I mean, you saw it a little bit in that game when he took off and ran. There was a couple throws he had that were on the money that were big-time throws, I thought. And then there was a lot more boneheaded decisions, just little things where he just fumbled the ball away, fumbled the game. It's it's one of those things where it's super tough to kind of do. But yeah, I think that's kind of the thing where he might have a game. He might come out and play in the Michigan game. He might come out there and have a really good game. The Michigan game, put up 300 plus yards and make everybody say, "Wow, this might be the guy," and then turn around and look like dog shit against Illinois, who got skull drug across the field. By the way,
yeah, no, I think is the risk really worth the reward with Jeff Sims? That's the way I look at it, and to me, it's not. The turnovers are ridiculous. I will say this with Casey Thompson: he threw 17 touchdowns last year to 10 interceptions. Jeff Sims has 1 touchdown pass and 6 turnovers. I mean, to me, Casey Thompson was a much more competent quarterback. I think Nebraska would definitely be 1-1 at this point if Casey Thompson was back there.
Absolutely, Chris. Let's segue here to a little Texas A&M and Miami. Texas beat Miami Miami beat Texas A&M 33-48. What are your thoughts on that game, Chris?
Yeah, Miami was impressive. I watched most of this game. Miami looks good. But on the other side of this, though, is A&M a bad team? Are we back to the 5-7 A&M team last year, Christian? I don't know yet, but I will say this. A&M was supposed to have a good defense this year. They gave up 48 to Miami yesterday. Miami did whatever the hell it wanted to on offense. Tyler Van Dyke looks like the Tyler Van Dyke of a couple years ago. So hats off to Miami there and Cristobal. They look like a good team. Miami looks like they're a relevant team in the ACC. I made the bold prediction. I think they might beat Clemson right now. I think Miami's that much better from what I've seen on the field the last 2 weeks, especially out of Clemson. But, we talked about Van Dyke, 21 of 30, 375 and 5 touchdowns. On the flip side, though, Connor Weigman didn't look bad. I mean, he threw the ball 53 times in this game, Christian. I know they were down in the fourth quarter there by quite a few. But, he had 2 touchdowns and 2 INTs. He turned the ball over a little bit more than what you'd like. Also, where's the running game for A&M? I mean, didn't run the ball well. He was their leading rusher. Connor was, again, for about, I think he ran the ball for, I don't even know if it was 30 or 40 yards, but overall, A&M had 97 yards on the ground. I guess that just surprises me out of a Jimbo team. The talent that they got at A&M, you got to be able to run the football. Flip side of that, though, like I said, is that Miami's defense? I mean, are they that legit now? Are they back? The turnover chain, the whole 9 yards there. Hats off to Miami in this game, Christian. I don't know if you have anything to add to it or what you thought, but I was surprised by Miami so far. First 2 games this season. We got some audio difficulties over here. Apologize, guys. I think we had this issue last week too. I don't know. Let's see if Christian jumps back in here. What's up, Will? Tip my hat. Yeah, no, absolutely, Will. They looked good. Miami did. I'm not a Miami fan, but they looked really good yesterday. That seat's getting awful hot for Jimbo Fisher as well, though, going forward. So, hey, Christian, good to see you back, buddy.
Yeah, there we go. Damn internet out here, man. I mean, what happens when you go with a company called Cox for your fucking internet? Yeah. I've got the best internet they've got. I'm gonna call them and raise fucking hell. I'm tired of this fucking internet. Speaking of being tired, yeah, Texas A&M fans have got to be tired of Jimbo Fisher and that. I mean, hats off to Miami. I mean, Miami came back and they looked really good in this. This, by the way, this had that feel to me, Chris. We kind of touched on it before the game. It kind of had that feel of that LSU Florida State game last year, where you weren't really sure what either of these programs was going to be. There's a lot of hype surrounding it. Obviously, both programs were kind of talking about. They both kind of had some down years, and both fan bases were touching on, hey, we might be back. We might be back. This is a good game. But to me, this game felt like a top 25 matchup.
Yep.
And Miami just came out and they just smothered Texas A&M down the stretch. I mean, I think A&M got up early on them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And then they just took their foot off the gas, and you just saw Miami kind of come in and do what they need to do. I mean, that's the thing, dude. The ACC, there's a changing of the guard there, and it starts with those Florida teams, Miami and Florida State.
Yep, I agree. No, that's a good take. I think me and you pretty much had a similar take on this one. I mean, just Miami looks like a good football team, man. And I think college football is better when Miami's better. Something about it, they were great when I was a kid. They're back now, it looks like. I mean, I don't want to say all the way back yet, but North Carolina looks good in the ACC. Florida State looks good over there. Give Miami, hats off to Miami beating, I think, a decent SEC school in Texas A&M.
Absolutely agree with you there. Moving on to Texas and Bama. Texas pulls the upset right there. I mean, they come into Alabama, right? And they beat Alabama 34-24. Something that's not an easy task, by the way. But let me say this, Chris. It took exactly 2 weeks into the season for Murder Ball to be murdered.
I love it.
Speaking of killing it, right? How about the number? How about the number of low snaps in this one? That was what shocked me, right? I mean, Alabama struggled to get snaps off in this game. Milroe and Bama's offense, they also have they've got that boomer bust sort of thing with them, right? Like they're either going to hit a very big play or they're going to turn the ball over in a very boneheaded sort of in a way, right? I mean, that's kind of what we talked about all offseason, right? Is can you force Milroe to beat you having to throw the football? And Texas did exactly that, and we saw exactly what's going to happen. Now, Milroe did have some plays where he ran around, he did some schoolyard bullshit back there, and he made some things happen, and that was kind of impressive. But he also made some throws that were really, really frustrating too. If you're the Bama man, right? Chris, you touched on it too. Fun stat here: Milroe finished tied for first with a number of rushing yards. He had 44, 45 rushing yards there. McClellan had 45 as well. What happened to all those elite running backs we thought we were going to see, that we're going to go for, a buck 50 in this game? That to me is a huge thing right there if you're a Bama fan. But, Texas, I mean, they were able to take advantage of Bama's reloading defense as well, right? I mean, Bama's defense didn't look nowhere near as elite as they have in years past. I think that's pretty apparent right there. They kept blaming Pete Golding. I don't know if Pete Golding himself could have saved Bama in this one.
No, good point. Sorry, Christian, I don't know if you got a little bit more to add to that, but you're exactly right with what you're saying here.
I'll just say this. I mean, this win's going to give Texas a lot of confidence that they desperately need as a program and as a fan base going forward. I mean, I think this kind of solidifies what we were talking about. I mean, Bama right now, as it sits to me, I mean, they're a potential 3 or 4 loss team. That's kind of where I had them pegged coming into this year. A lot of people thought we were crazy. Well, we don't seem as crazy now, do we?
No. Christian said it best. We picked this upset too, by the way. We thought Texas was going to be good this year, both Christian and I think Texas went in there. I think they proved a point yesterday, Christian. I think Texas is back. I mean, we talk about teams being back, Florida State, Miami. What was your thoughts on Texas?
I thought Texas looked really good. I mean, again, they, one thing that you've seen in past, especially teams that play Bama, is they might get an early lead, and I've seen George do this how many times, where they get an early lead and then they piss down their leg as the game kind of runs on, and they just give the game back to Bama and they let them stay in there. We touched on that, I think, last night during the stream, and it's extremely frustrating, really frustrating if you're a fan of the team playing Bama. But Texas did a great job at kind of doing what they needed to do. You could see some of the momentum throughout that game kind of escaped them at times, and they were able to kind of do a good job at just keeping everything in front of them, not panicking, and just not Texasing it, if you will, right? I would say. So hats off. I'll say this to kind of wrap it up here, Chris. I mean, Nick Saban looked very un-Saban-like in this. I mean, I've seen that all offseason, right? He's not his typical, I'm going to light your ass up kind of Nick Saban. He just kind of has seemed more subdued, if you will. I don't know. It's been very weird to see.
Yeah. No, you hit the nail on head. I might add, Bama going forward, man, they're going to have to make some changes. They're going to have to figure out how to run the ball. I mean, especially when you get in the heart of that SEC schedule, Christian, this year. And Jalen Milroe looks like Jeff Sims 2.0 to me. So I don't know if they're related down there or what, but not good quarterback play from both of those. I think, in my opinion, and my take here from Milroe, dude, he had maybe 2 good drives in that game. He had some boneheaded throws that cost him that pick 6 damn near. That was huge. So that was a terrible throw, Christian. I think we're told growing up you don't make that throw even in the parking lot, So yeah, hats off though to Texas, man. Hats off to Texas. That was a big statement win at Bama.
Agreed. Let's kind of keep it parked right here and kind of get into some of these here. Chris going to be a baby faced assassin. Gotta love seeing that, man. That beard's coming off, it looks like. Right there.
You guys in your Colorado getting 6 wins, baby. Let's go.
Hey, we're upgrading Colorado here. Let's see. That Arizona versus Mississippi game was a crazy good ending. I agree. I didn't get a chance to catch any of that. We were covering a lot of other games and doing some other stuff. But yeah, that Mississippi State Arizona game, from what I could tell, I think Mississippi State kind of pulled it out in the end there. Let's take a look here at some other things real quick. Miami looked real good. Will says absolutely. Mike says, here is my question. How much of Nebraska's problems are more than coaching and players, meaning leadership, 4 ADs, 5 coaches, multiple presidents, and chancellors? Could it be too much instability? This is something me and Chris talked about yesterday. I called Chris at halftime of that game. And I actually said, you remember what I said to you, Chris?
Does it start at the top? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is this a problem at the top? And it's a very good question. Christian makes a good point. You make a good point too, Mike. Nebraska's been in an unstable state in football here for 10 years. I mean, it's been a coaching carousel here. It's been a mess, from ADs to coaches to assistant coaches, president. I'm with you guys. I don't really know what to say. I don't even really know what to think anymore right now, being from Nebraska and having to hear about this all the time. But it's a problem. I say it all the time about NFL. You want to see good NFL teams year in, year out. Look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, ran by the Rooneys. They're a great organization. Same with the Patriots and Robert Kraft. It starts up top. And I think Nebraska's got some serious issues. I really do. Outside of the players and the coaches, there's some problems going on here. We'll get into this more, but Christian, I want to hear your take here. I know you brought up this question.
Well, you gotta wonder, right? I mean, I get, hey, Matt Rule inherited a Scott Frost team, and they, it's still remnants of Scott Frost, and he brought in 60 brand new fucking players, dude. I mean, come on. When are we going to stop making excuses for it? Here's the thing: the last two coaches Nebraska's had, I mean, Riley and Frost, have been sort of inept, if you will, right? I mean, they've kind of ran the program into the ground, if I'm not mistaken. But who hired both those guys? I mean, that's the thing. If I'm not mistaken, you guys had two athletic directors that kind of made those decisions, right? Trev Alberts has obviously been brought in, and he was the one that hired Frost, and then he kind of gave him the time there. Was Alberts the one that brought in Frost?
No, it was the guy from Oregon, Moose, and he left. Okay. Yep, he left the year after Frost was gone. So yes.
Yeah. So, but he, I guess Trev Alberts anyway. Sorry, I was a little off on that one, but I know Trev Alberts basically made that decision to stay with Frost for a while. I mean, he kept rocking with him. They went out this year. There was a lot of other coaches, they could have probably brought in, and they went with Matt Rule. Now, I don't know if it was because they got turned down by a lot of people. I can't imagine that was necessarily the case. Don't know everything, but I think the thing with Matt Rule is, it's just going to take some time. If you're a Nebraska fan, it's just going to take some time. I don't even think losing to Minnesota or Colorado is going to necessarily be the low point of the season.
Yeah, that's a scary thought, looking into what Northern Illinois is next week here at home, and then we got to turn around and play. I think it's La Tech. Yeah, then we turn around and play Michigan, Illinois. If we fuck around and lose one of these games, oh my God, I know it's I've came out here and said it that I think Rule will be here next year, but we got to. Nebraska's got to win these next two games. You can't lose to one of these again. We saw it last year, Christian, with Georgia Southern. Hats off to Georgia Southern. Last year wasn't a terrible football team, but you got to win that football game. I mean, I'm tired of these. I don't want to call them cupcake games, but now I used to check those off. Win-win. Now I don't know. 50-50.
It's must-see. Now it's must-see TV.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like watching a car wreck, dude. I mean, you can't look away.
Nope. I agree.
But yeah, program is definitely going to need something. They need a confidence win. I mean, that's the thing. A game like Minnesota or a game like Colorado, that would have been, I think, a program building win for Nebraska. Unfortunately, they just obviously weren't able to get it done. But there's still a long season left to play. I mean, there's some teams that have not looked great by any stretch of the imagination as this year kind of goes on here. In that Big Ten West, that I think Nebraska honestly is going to have a chance. I mean, look, let's not bullshit here. Iowa gave up 14 points to a very bad, very depleted Iowa State team on defense, and they only managed to put up 20 points against Iowa State, who, yeah, they've got a good defense, but still, you don't bring in a kid like Cade McNamara and put that clause in Brian Ferentz contract to score 24 points to put up 23 points or whatever it was, or 25 points, and he put up 24, and now he's putting up 21. I mean,
I don't know.
So Iowa, the same thing to me right here, right? Then the other side of it is Wisconsin. I mean, we're going to touch on them here in a little bit, but I mean, they've got some issues in their own right here. Illinois, I mean, who did they play yesterday again, Chris?
We thought they played Friday. They played against Kansas and just got mollywopped in that game by a Kansas team that wasn't supposed to have a defense. Illinois couldn't move the ball until the very end. That score was not indicative of what that game was. Illinois, look, for a team that had the number one defense last year, I know they lost some pieces. Looks like one of the worst defenses I've seen all college football season so far. They look absolutely terrible. That team, I was so off on that team. That team will be lucky to win 3 or 4 games. Honestly, Christian.
Agreed, man. I mean, it's Purdue. I think Purdue lost.
I think they pulled that one out yesterday, but they lost to an FBS school week 1 or something crazy like that, Christian. I think you're right though. Purdue represented the Big Ten West last year, which boy,
they lost to Fresno State.
There you go. Was Fresno State,
and they beat Virginia Tech 24-17. Very inspiring. Very inspiring there for the Purdue man.
Yeah, it's not looking good in the West this year. This thing is up for grabs. This is like the Big 12 most years. Throw it a dartboard in the West to represent it.
Agreed. Moving back in here to little Auburn, little Cal. Chris, you called this for the Cal man there, and I said, hey, I can't pick too many damn upsets this week, man. It's just statistically not going to happen. Yeah. You said, hey, not so fast.
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on Auburn, Cal?
If you guys watched, this was a late game. I caught the first half. This was one of the worst games I've watched all year between 2 Power 5 schools. This was atrocious. I've seen a lot of Peyton Thorne play at Michigan State. I know he's the new quarterback there for Auburn. Not impressive, in my opinion. 9 of 14 for 94 yards. He did have the 2 touchdowns, the one late one to take the lead there in the fourth quarter, and 1 interception. Cal didn't look any better. I mean, actually, they looked worse. Sam Jackson, 14 to 27, 126 yards, 2 interceptions. Cal missed 2 field goals in that game, by the way. That's 5 missed field goals on the year if you're a California man. Get rid of your kicker, pick up a kid off the street. I don't know what you need to do to fix that problem, but kind of cost him the game in that one. The big thing in this game, if anybody even decided to not turn it off, and you should have, 7 turnovers between both teams. Just ugly, sloppy football on both ends. This game was hard to watch. I don't really have much more to add to this. I took Cal thinking that, Auburn's going to have to go on the road here, play a night game, travel across the country. Thought this would be close. It was close, but boy, I didn't expect it to be this ugly. I don't mind watching a defensive game, but I can't stand turnovers and penalties.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, that's kind of the other side of it. If Cal had any kind of kicker here, they win this game. And it's probably, yeah, they would have won that game. Not a question in my mind. You look like a genius right now.
Yeah.
I think the thing to me is all the offseason hype that we heard from Auburn fans about 10 wins, 8, 9 wins. I mean, let's just kind of – I get the game was at Cal. We said it was going to be tough. It was going to be closer than a lot of people thought. But, my God, Peyton Thorne, 9 of 14, 94 yards. 94 yards. What is Cal, the 85 Bears? I know they're the Golden Bears, but they're not the damn 85 Bears back there he was going up against.
I don't know, Christian. You said it best. Yeah, Peyton Thorne. I watched a lot of him at Michigan State. Wasn't overly impressed with him there. Auburn man told me, again, 9 wins. We banked him at 6 this year, and we got laughed off the fucking internet. I mean, yeah, and then I got into it with an Auburn fan in our one of our podcasts. Just telling me that we're not showing them any love. After this game, I'm still not showing you any love. They didn't look good in this game, Christian. I know, and nothing against Cal, but I mean, Cal isn't a world beater either. Let's get real here.
It was so bad they had to trot Robbie Ashford out there. I mean, Auburn, has a full-on quarterback controversy, Chris, I would say. Right? I mean, they have to.
I would think so, man. You're going to tell me, though, and I'm sure the Auburn man will turn around, our defense is just that elite. Okay. I give up on these Auburn fans, man. They don't get along with me, and I don't get along with them, I guess.
But I mean, hey, it was a tough weekend though for the SEC, man. I mean, it was a very weird, interesting weekend, but I love it because that just makes football more fun. Look, as a Georgia fan, I don't like seeing the same damn teams. You know what I mean? Make it to the college football playoff. I like seeing a shakeup, right? I think it's bad for business. The whole. Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson, of the world making the playoff every damn year. I want to see something different. I mean, nobody wants to see Georgia take on Colorado in the national championship game. We watched that last year. We watched Georgia play TCU. We know how this goes. And I'm not trying to talk shit about Colorado or do anything like that. I'm just saying, you could insert any team in there that you want to. It's just when you got a program that's loaded with 4 and 5-star athletes that's been doing it and dominating for forever, it's so hard to watch that when they go in and play, some Cinderella team there. But we'll see what it is moving forward here. Chris, getting into a little bit of Nebraska, Colorado. Speaking of Colorado, man, give credit to Colorado. I mean, for continuing to make national pundits look dumb. I mean, so it's a good thing we actually picked them to win this game going into it. I'll say that. Colorado's offense, I mean, they look fantastic. I mean, they're going to keep them in just about every game they play. I got a feeling that offense will. But you also have to give Nebraska's defense credit too. I mean, they got some stops at times in this game, and that's what you ask for. I think if it wasn't for the turnovers at critical points of the game and giving a short field to Nebraska's defense there, this game could have been a lot closer than what it actually was. But we talked about it. Nebraska's offense has put up 8 turnovers and only 24 points here in 2 games. So the Huskers and Jeff Sims, I mean, they got to figure something out. I mean, this has been – I'm not going to hit the panic button, but this is full on – this is almost emergency mode right now. If you can play any kind of offense and you live in the state of Nebraska, show up to practice on Monday. That's all I'm going to say. Still credit Colorado's defense to limiting Nebraska to only 14 points. I mean, that's a lot better than what I thought was going to happen in this game. I thought, hey, again, looking at what Minnesota's defense can be on a national stage and how they held them to 10 points, I thought, Colorado might be able to give up some more. Colorado did a fantastic job at limiting the ball and what Nebraska wanted to do. But, I mean, this to me, Chris, this just has a feeling of 2 programs that are going in 2 completely opposite directions.
Yeah, you're right. You hit the nail on the head with Colorado. They're going in the right direction. There's no doubt about that. People will say it was hard to go any worse than 1-11 last year, but where Nebraska's looking right now, that 1-11 might be where they're headed. It's not looking good as the Nebraska man going forward. Yeah, I'm not hitting the panic button yet, but we're going to find out here next week. Nebraska playing, I can't believe I'm saying this, Northern Illinois. We fuck around there. Then I'm hitting the panic button. And Jeff Sims going forward, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know. I wasn't impressed with the backups. They didn't get to play a lot. The rotation of both of them, Christian, in that game was really odd, too. They brought out Harburg for, a couple plays, and then they put Purdy in for the rest. That was just I don't know what the hell's going on there. But, yeah, going forward here, though, hats off again. Colorado fan, I'll say it, good win. We did pick Colorado to win. It just had a feeling Nebraska, again, proves that they can't play or close out a football game.
Yeah. I mean, you just need a win at this point if you're in Nebraska. You need to come out and you need to have a game, hopefully against Northern Illinois, where you put it together on offense, I think. I mean, that's really the only thing. You just need confidence at this point. I mean, it just a lot of boneheaded mistakes. I mean, they were struggling to catch snaps. I mean,
penalties.
I mean, again, just stupid decisions, stupid mistakes there that just kind of compiled. And that's the thing, right? I mean, if you look at this game as a Nebraska fan and you have any kind of optimism from it, what are we doing? What are we doing? I mean, seriously, you've got to be able to be critical about this. I'm not saying you need to fire Matt Rule, but I am saying, hey, maybe we need to look at the offensive coaching here a little bit, and we might need to look at, especially how they're going to play in the next couple games. You might need to look at making some changes sooner rather than later, especially if they struggle. I mean, that's just the way I look at it. And we can blame Jeff Sims all day, but, I mean, this is what he was at Georgia Tech. I think he might have been better at Georgia Tech.
I would say so.
If that's, if that's even possible. But, Jeff Collins is still roaming the sidelines out there. Oh, no, he's not. Never mind. Because he got fired. So, I don't know. You know what I mean? Where they go from here, Mike says it. Can we have an open quarterback competition like we did last year for a kicker? Yeah. I mean, again, the other options are Harburg or Purdy. We touched on that a little bit.
Yeah, feel free to open that up. I'll show up down there Monday.
Damn right. So with that being said here, yeah, and I mean, Will said it best too. I feel like the game plan was good. Just the mental F-ups were too much to overcome. Yeah, I mean, it's just But that's what I mean. That's Nebraska doing what Nebraska does. I mean, over the last couple of years, I mean, it's just the game plan could be on point, but just the amount of mental mistakes, if you will, just compile and compile and compile, and then eventually you start wondering, what are we doing? Is the program cursed? Is the stadium built off of an Indian burial ground? I mean, that's almost what I'm starting to wonder now. We need to just start playing games at Baxter Arena.
I don't know. They need to figure something out. Like I said, man, it's not good going forward. I don't have a lot of optimism going forward. It's hard to find a positive, like you said, Christian. But yeah, they're going to have to figure something out. Like you said, they might need to make some changes sooner rather than later. There's a lot of season left here.
Yeah. Game you were very high on coming into the season, and then we downgraded it. Oregon, Texas Tech. Oregon survives there. Will's got to be happy about that. Chris,
yeah.
What are your thoughts on Oregon, Texas Tech?
This was a good football game. Texas Tech, give them credit, bouncing back from that loss, embarrassing loss, in my opinion, to Wyoming in double overtime last week. Oregon, team that I'm really high on this year. You know what? The big thing in this game was the fourth quarter. Oregon outscored Texas Tech 20-3 in the fourth to close this one out. This one was looking like an upset written all over it. Bo Nix did what Bo Nix does, 32 of 44, Christian, 360 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns. He was also their leading rusher. So I got a little questions on Oregon's offense running the football. Oregon's got a lot of good players on that football team. I know Bo Nix can run the football, but I don't like when your quarterback's always your leading rusher. Tyler Schlau, however you want to say his name, the ex-Oregon quarterback who was there for 2 years, 24 for 38, 282, 3 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. And they were costly interceptions if you're the Texas Tech man. Crazy stat here, Christian. We talked about it. 23 carries for 101 yards and a touchdown. Holy shit. Did you have anybody else on offense if you're Tech? I mean, you got to have a few other players, man. 101 yards rushing for a quarterback. I didn't think that he's a good athlete, but I don't think you want your quarterback running 23 times. Crazy. Texas Tech, 0-2 now. First time since 1990. Thought that was kind of a crazy stat. Tech I was very high on. I'll admit it. I had them as a dark horse in the Big 12 this year. I am completely wrong. Tech played a lot better in this game. Don't get me wrong. If they would have played like that last week, they would have blew out Wyoming. Oregon in this game, though, another question for you, Will, probably 14 penalties for 130 yards. You guys got to get that cleaned up going forward, especially in the Pac-12 where there's a lot of good teams over there, Christian. You know that. Sloppy game a little bit in that way, but I give credit. I know Lubbock is a tough place to play. Give credit to Oregon in the fourth quarter. And Dan Lanning, they kind of pulled their heads out of their asses there and got it done barely, 38-30. Christian, you want to add anything onto that?
Yeah, I'll just say this. I mean, looking at the box score here, I mean, it's one of those things where Oregon, they came out, I don't want to say flat, but they just, they showed why Texas Tech is not an easy place to come into. They needed 20 points in the fourth quarter to come back and kind of take this one. I mean, it was very scary. I know we were covering some other games while this one was going on. But yeah, it was one of those games where if you're an Oregon fan, I mean, sometimes you just got to survive. That's all you got to do. You just got to survive. You just got to hang in there. And you make it to next week, and that's all you got to do, especially in this Pac-12. I mean, especially the stuff that you look at Oregon and what we think Oregon can be. They're a very veteran-led team, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, and Dan Lanning, second-year coach. I mean, obviously we're really high on Oregon and what they can be. Texas Tech doing Texas Tech things. They're coming out losing to Wyoming, and then they play up to what we thought was going to be a blowout in Oregon, and they actually led for most of that game, and then kind of got pulled away there. So yeah, man, very very interesting. I felt as if with the whole Texas Tech Oregon game.
I like it.
Moving on to Wisconsin and Washington. Here, Chris, I'll start us off. Wisconsin loses to Washington State 31-22. I called it. I mean, going on the road and playing, a place like Washington State, it's no joke. And I mean, you can't overlook them. Wisconsin's strength, over the last few years, I mean, it has been their defense, right? Everybody knows Wisconsin's defense over the last couple of years has kept them running, especially with the Graham Mertz train, kind of running around there. But let's be honest here, that Wisconsin defense let them down at times last night, allowing quarterback Cam Ward to scamper for 2 major first down runs in the fourth quarter to help set up for the eventual go-ahead touchdown in this one. Washington State, by the way, was up at one point 24-6 in the first half. 24-6. I mean, Wisconsin just shot themselves in the foot. They lost 3 fumbles in this one, Chris. 3 fumbles. Speaking of fumbles, Mordecai had 2 of them. One I think went, as an actual turnover. The other one they recovered, but still. Cam Ward, by the way, of Washington State, I mean, he's got that dog in him, as the kids say. I don't say that, but the kids say it, so there you go. Here's another thing for you too, Chris, I'm going to say about this game, as we kind of look forward here. Wisconsin, they host Georgia Southern next week. So look out. My thoughts on Georgia Southern.
I knew we were going with this because me and you've had this huge debate all offseason about Wisconsin and Tanner Mordecai. I will say it on air, Christian. You were right. Tanner Mordecai may not be any better than Graham Mertz. I know. It pains me to fucking say it, but you're right. If Wisconsin man's got to be a little on edge in critical condition right now. Why? Because you guys went 5-7 last year. You brought in my boy Luke Fickell, who I wanted at Nebraska badly. I don't know what Wisconsin's doing. You're right. Defensively, this one surprised me. I didn't think Wisconsin's offense was going to take a couple weeks to get going with the new OC and stuff. But defensively, I'm like, it's Wisconsin. They're always the top 15 defense. Year in and year out, they're going to pound the football with Braylon Allen. You said it. 3 fumbles, man. That's uncharacteristic of a Wisconsin team. And hats off to Washington State. I mean, you called it. I knew this game was going to be a little scary, but Christian had the balls to lay it out on the line there. Hats off to Washington State. Big win for them. Another big win for the Pac-12. I swear they're like 20-0 right now, looking like the best conference in America.
Well, the Pac-12, I think they're like maybe 19-2,
something like that. Yeah, it's impressive.
I think Cal lost and then lost too.
Arizona lost. I know
Arizona,
to Purdue or whatever, and then but I mean, good start to the season if they're a Pac-12, which will no longer be after this year.
Absolutely agree there, Chris. Again, in the chat, obviously drop in there, what you guys saw, any honorable mentions, anything like that.
Yeah.
We kind of missed out on there. Again, Notre Dame took care of business against
late though.
NC State, yeah,
late. They scored 21 in the fourth, I think. That game was actually pretty close. Rain delay, I believe, in that game too. Christian was kind of a lot of rain delays yesterday. By the way, I don't know if
I was watching baseball.
Yeah. Hey, another one, by the way, speaking of the Pac-12, Utah pulling it out at Baylor, man. Yep. They were down most of that game. Hats off to Utah and their 3rd and 4th string quarterback getting it done. I didn't get to watch a ton of that game, but good for Utah staying alive.
Absolutely. Ole Miss and Tulane, that was a good game until like the last 3 minutes. I think Tulane just with a backup quarterback there couldn't pull it out. I mean, I 100% think that if Tulane had Michael Pratt in that game, they win that game. No questions asked there.
Mm-hmm.
Tulsa at Washington. Washington takes care of business at Tulsa 43-10. Let's see here. Tennessee beats Austin PA 30-13. Surprising score there. UNC App State, dude. That was just a surprisingly good game. It came down to 2 overtimes.
Yeah. Hats off to App State. It don't matter who the hell they're playing, dude. It don't matter. They play in every big game all the time. North Carolina looked a little bit down. I did catch the end of that, but after that win at South Carolina. But hats off to App State, man. Yeah, they almost won that thing. Imagine Drake May losing to App State. That would have been a shocking storyline to me.
That would, I mean, it just almost makes you think, hey, is UNC or have they really progressed that much? Have they really progressed that much? I mean, to still kind of go, I mean, that game was close last year against App State.
It was.
And I thought last year's App State team was better than this year's. Maybe I'm wrong.
I agree.
But yeah, I'm just looking around here at some of the other scores.
I'm trying to think of
Kansas State.
Games. Yeah.
Kansas State beat the hell out of Troy. I know it's Troy, but still.
K-State, though, they're looking like a pretty good team. I think they're going to give Texas a run for their money this year, Big 12. I do. I like K-State.
They might, dude. They're one of those teams where, they might surprise you with their physicality and what they do. But, yeah, I mean, they might give you a little shock there.
I think.
What about –
go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say Penn State, Michigan. Ohio State was one that 2 weeks in a row, not looking real elite on offense. I know Marvin Harrison finally got over the hump of 2 catches last week. He had 2 touchdowns in that game. I did see that, but a little worried about Ohio State, Christian. A little worried.
Yeah, I was gonna say 35-7. They also looked really not so great against Indiana.
No.
They gotta figure some stuff out, I think, on offense here and get that sorted out. I have to go back and watch some of the game film on that and just see what exactly Ohio State was, or what their big issue is. If I'm guessing, again, coming into the season, we probably touched on it. It's probably offensive line play coupled with their quarterbacks not really separating themselves. If I'm just guessing here, right? I need to go back and watch that game a little bit there. Virginia lost to James Madison.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Jesus.
So what does that say about Tennessee then?
Not much.
Yeah. So we I think at this point, I mean, we probably call it. I think we're going to call the Tennessee Florida game, just because we got some Tennessee fans, we got some Florida fans, and that'll be an interesting one here. Just see who separates himself in that game. I mean, that's going to be an interesting matchup from us this next week. But Will says, can Penn State win the Big Ten? From what I've seen thus far, absolutely.
Yep. I am very high on Penn State. I took them to beat Ohio State this year. I think Penn State's got a chance this year. It's now or never for James Franklin. This is probably the best team he's got. This is the real. I think, Christian, I think you'd agree with what's his name back there, quarterback. Looks like a real quarterback for Penn State. I drawing a blank on his name right now, but he looks really good. Penn State, there you go. Yep. Penn State is for real. I know I haven't really played anybody yet so far, but this is Penn State's year. I'm banking on this one.
In the words of Andre 3000, I am for real.
Yeah.
Sorry, Miss Jackson. So, yeah.
Again, Mike says Charlotte played Maryland fairly close. Yeah, that game was close for a long time. That's surprising to me. We were kind of high on Maryland, Christian, going into the season.
I still am. I'm still somewhat high on them, right? I mean, somewhere between Maryland and Illinois, you got to have somebody that kind of comes up there and does something, right? I'm still somewhat high on Maryland. I just think Charlotte's a surprising team that's going to shock you. Again, I'm not at that point yet where I'm full on going to say Charlotte's going to beat Florida, but I think over the next couple of weeks I might get there.
I'll tell you what, man, you've been making the bold takes. Keep rolling with it, man. Keep doing it. You picked the Duke upset. You picked Washington State. Christian's the man right now. That bankroll's got to be looking pretty fat over there. Just
like an Auburn, quarterback. Sometimes you just got to ride the hot hand.
Yeah,
yeah. One thing I will touch on here, again, kind of keep the chat kind of coming here. Let's see what you guys think about this week 2 of college football. It was a wild week 2 of college football here, but OU, SMU, that was an interesting one, 28-11.
Yeah, I saw that. I know during the game, people were dropping in the chat, said it was really close for the first half. We all saw what Oklahoma did to Arkansas State. I know it was Arkansas State last week, but what, dropped a 70 burger on them? OU, man. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if SMU is just really good or Oklahoma came out a little flat. I'm not sure there. I did not catch that game. Like I said, we were doing 2 games yesterday here. But, yeah, when you look at the box score, Christian, got you a little worried, I think, if the Oklahoma, man.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Oklahoma had who was it? Butch Jones crying on the sideline week 1. And then, hell, I think their fans were crying on the sidelines because Art Briles was running around talking with Jeff Lebby, their offensive coordinator, who his family was. They didn't want that man in the damn stadium, from what I can see. Which, who cares? I don't think it really matters at this point. But, yeah, very, very interesting. I mean, I think the Oklahoma man's meme is just the crying Jordan meme, right? That's all I feel like. All they do is either make people cry or they just can't stop crying.
Spot on. Sounds about right. Mike or Will says the Duke upset is some 200 IQ shit. Yeah. Christian sometimes is relatively smart. That was a hell of a pick. Christian took a lot of shit for that pick.
I did.
He really did. Then they came back that night and everybody's like, wow.
A lot of people said I'm following this channel just so I can fade all your predictions just because of that. And I talked my shit after the fact. Actually, I don't know if I talked my shit so much, but we had a lot of people jump in there and say, you guys look real fucking stupid right now, which I love. I love it when you get people that come in the videos and they just start dogging on all these other people, man. That's so awesome. But listen, AI consults me from time to time about, how to pick college football games. Upsets anyways, not marquee games. I will put it that way. Upsets.
No, it was a bold take. Like I said, though, that's what's awesome about this show, man. We will take some bold takes here. We're not afraid to come on here and admit when we're wrong either. So
Absolutely not. Yeah, but again, I think we're going to call that Florida Tennessee game. I mean, we're kind of looking around. I mean, we're going back and forth whether we wanted to call Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, Minnesota. Who's Minnesota play this
North
week? Minnesota,
Carolina.
UNC?
That's an interesting game, though. Just for both sides of that, though. Minnesota versus North Carolina. I think it's at NC, but yeah.
And that's the thing too. We might we're just looking at this on the outside. I mean, I think the Tennessee Florida game might be the most interesting game, right? Florida hasn't played. Well, they played yesterday and they beat McNeese State.
Yeah,
you know, Gator Swag. Wish he was here. You know, he probably. And I know we got another Florida fan on here too. So, I mean, I'm interested to see. You know, what's Florida going to do? Did they get that confidence that they need on offense to kind of come in here and keep up with Tennessee? That's the real question that I've got, obviously, here. I know on the outside looking in, it's easy to pick Tennessee, but what can Florida do in a bounce back out of habit game here against Tennessee?
Yeah, and let's be honest, Tennessee hasn't blown the doors off first couple weeks so far. You know, we heard a lot about Joe Milton throwing a ball 90 yards and all this, but I don't know if their offense is just taking a little bit to click under Heupel here, but I think this will be a fun game to watch. I really do. I think it should be a good game. It'll be down. I think it's at Florida too. So it should be loud, kind of like that Alabama crowd last night. That was kind of cool to watch too, by the way. So yeah, no, it should be a good game though. It really should be.
Yeah. Chris, I'll say this too, you know, your predictions about just wishing that you could just keep the camera on the field and have no commercials. I agreed with you on that. And then I watched that 4K thing where literally it was no commercials. Didn't watch a single damn commercial thing. It was literally just camera on the field in the in-between there. That was one of the most boring fucking things I feel like I've ever seen in my life. I know we talk a lot of shit about the commercials. I think I'm going to stay with the commercials.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, man. But yeah, that I did flip over to that during the game. I was like, yeah, that's kind of, I mean, it's cool that they showed the shot, and then after a while, it gets old, don't it? Like, okay, cool. We've seen enough of the stadium. I get it.
Kind of like calling a little bit of those commercials myself. You know, it kind of gives me eventually one day we'll get some sponsors. Kind of gives me good training. I feel like to kind of do that. Also think Washington, Michigan State will be decent.
Yeah.
That Washington, Michigan State thing is going to be interesting. But hey, we're not going to touch on this, you know, but there's a lot of allegations right now coming out of Michigan State. I don't know how much does that detract from that game. If you're Michigan State, right? I mean, is Mel Tucker even going to be the coach come Saturday? That's another thing too that might play into this.
Yeah, I agree. It will be an interesting game, but you said it, and we're not going to touch on it too much here, but yeah, Mel Tucker, I don't know if he'll be coaching on Saturday. Washington has looked really good. Blew out Boise State week 1, especially in the second half, handled their business yesterday. That's another team that we haven't talked about a lot right now is Washington. Daniel's not in here, but Washington's another one of those Pac-12 teams that I think is pretty legit.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested at some point to call like a marquee game with Washington because, I mean, they have come out and they've looked good out the gate. So at some point this year, we will call a Washington, maybe like a Washington USC game or something like Oregon that, you know, assuming everybody survives and Oregon and just seeing kind of what shakes out here. It's kind of the hard thing about calling some of these games. I mean, sometimes, you know, again, we could sit there and we could call 3 or 4 games a day, but it's a lot, man. It's a lot to get up for. It's a lot of roster kind of turnover you got to look at there and everything. And, you know, we enjoy doing it for sure. You know, we just want to kind of make sure we stay juiced, as you will, and have that energy for every game. And I don't know. I think it's going to be a good weekend here. I mean, again, you know, some of the games this week obviously are not ideal, but I think kind of going forward, you start to get a lot better idea. So, yeah, Kalen DeBoer, Washington's coach, is one candidate I wanted at Nebraska. He dominated the NAIA. Yeah,
I do remember his name being thrown around.
Yeah, he's a good one, man. I mean, Kalen DeBoer is he's got that dog, and I think he's won just about everywhere he's gone. Yeah,
no, and like I said, Washington's got a lot of experience too, man. We watched a lot of Michael Penix at Indiana. They're a good team. That's a veteran-led team over there too, by the way.
Absolutely, man, and that's crazy. They lost what they're like returning leading rusher from last year, that running back.
Yep.
Start the season off, yet I mean, they still have come out and looked all right. I mean, doesn't like they've missed a beat. So I mean, they're in good hands over there at Washington, man. They're just reloading. They're doing what they need to do. Very capable team, I think.
Very capable team with a really good defense. I think they probably have the best defense in the Pac-12, to be honest, this year.
Chris, I think, as we kind of touch over the hour mark here, I think this probably is a good stopping point for us here on the Sunday recap show. Yep. Again, boys and girls, we've got in a couple hours here the NFL kicking off. Excited about that. Make sure if you're playing fantasy football, obviously, you get your lineups in. You're checking to see who's hurt, who's healthy, who's whatever. And let's get ready for another great week of football. Chris, any closing statements here for you?
No, guys, I appreciate it. Probably didn't tell you guys thanks enough yesterday for joining us. That was an 8-hour stream yesterday, basically, for Christian and I. Thanks. A lot of you guys in the chat stopped in. I appreciate it. Other than that, let's keep it going, man. We're only 2 weeks into the season in college football, man. There's a lot to go. Hopefully see you guys on Saturday.
Right. We'll be back at it again here on Wednesday. Catch us at 7 o'clock Central Time. We're excited. Can't wait to see you guys.